Michael Hunter has been doing a bunch of interviews lately, and he believes that he would stop Martin Bakole earlier than he did in their first fight back in 2018. According to him, Bakole is heavier, slower, throws fewer punches, and has worse stamina than he did back then. Now, Bakole is certainly heavier. That's a fact. The scales don't lie. As far as him being slower, I'd probably go along with that as well. He was 25 pounds lighter back in 2018. As far as his work rate and stamina, I'm not sure. He still throws a lot of shots, Martin Bakole, no question about it. His stamina, well, he did appear to be breathing quite heavy, I want to say in the third or fourth round against Jared Anderson. He kind of took one of those rounds off. So I'm not sure if his stamina is worse now, but it's definitely possible. Now, if Michael Hunter was as good today as he was back in 2018, then I'd probably concur with him that he would stop Martin Bakole earlier in a rematch than he did back then. And for those of you who don't know, maybe you didn't see the fight, he stopped Bakole in 10 rounds. That fight was at the York Hall in Bethnal Green, East London. The problem is, I don't think Michael Hunter is as good now as he was back then. I think he's deteriorated quite a bit, partially due to inactivity, because he's been very inactive ever since he left Matchroom, really. On top of that, he's been fighting a very low level of opposition for the most part. He's also now, I think, 36 years of age, so he's a few years older than Martin Bakole. I don't think he's the fighter he used to be. I think Michael Hunter has missed the boat. I could be wrong, but I think he's missed his opportunity. And he was a very talented fighter several years ago, Michael Hunter. His biggest mistake was turning down the Filip Hrgović fight. He should have never done that. But he apparently wanted more money. He got an offer from Triller. He thought he was going to make multi-millions from some easy fights. And Triller, as far as I know, are no longer in boxing. I guess it's a classic example of when trying to make fast money goes wrong. Hunter has been out in the wilderness for years and years and years. He kind of implies or infers that Eddie Hearn don't want to work with him anymore. And he was briefly connected to Ben Shalom, boxer, if memory serves me correct. He was supposed to fight Hughie Fury, but Fury pulled out several times. So I'm not sure what his relationship is like with Shalom now. He was obviously at the recent LA show, part of Riyadh season, and I'm assuming he was trying his best to cozy up to Turki Al Sheikh, try and catch his attention, try and maybe inform him, if he didn't already know, that he actually beat Martin Bakole, the guy who took down Jared Anderson, somebody who Turki Al Sheikh was hoping would be a star, right, in the making. So we'll see what happens for Michael Hunter, but if a Bakole rematch happens anytime soon, I'm definitely picking Martin Bakole. Again, the inactivity of Michael Hunter, the age, the lack of quality opposition over the past few years. I mean, just to put it in perspective, Michael Hunter beat Jerry Forrest comfortably early on in his career. They had a rematch many years later, and I think that was a draw. And most people think that Michael Hunter was extremely fortunate and he should have really had a loss on his record after that fight. Now, it's very possible that Jerry Forrest improved between their first and second fights, but it's also very possible, and I think probable, that Michael Hunter deteriorated a lot. Hunter was at his best against Bakole, of course. He beat Sergey Kuzmin very well. He actually beat Sergey Kuzmin much better than Martin Bakole did. He had that draw with Povetkin. You know, a draw wasn't a horrible result in that fight, but I did think Michael Hunter had done just enough to win. Hunter is a good all-round fighter, but he's a smaller heavyweight. He came up from cruiserweight. I forgot to mention he gave Alexander Usyk one of his tougher fights. Actually gave Usyk plenty of problems in the first half. Hunter can box at long range. He can move around. He's got quick hands. He can mix it on the inside. He's not a massive puncher, but he hits hard enough to get respect. I mean, as I say, he stopped Martin Bakole in 10 rounds. Bakole and Billy Nelson have been making excuses about that defeat ever since it happened, but the reality is, even before this supposed shoulder injury that Martin Bakole allegedly picked up in the fight, he was already getting caught with loads of big punches. I mean, it's actually a really good scrap if you haven't seen it. There's a few copies on YouTube and on Daily Motion floating around. Make sure you check it out. Bakole comes out the blocks real fast, as he tends to do, throwing a lot of leather, and Michael Hunter outmaneuvers him and opens up on Martin Bakole. I mean, early in the fight, he opens up on him and he's catching him with all types of big punches. And he basically beats the fight out of him. At one point, Martin Bakole tries to quit on his stool and Billy Nelson has to beg him to continue. Literally begs him, virtually forces him out for the next round because Martin Bakole wanted to quit. And in fact, there's another attribute I forgot to mention about Michael Hunter, which he showed in that fight, and that's a really good chin. I've only seen Michael Hunter really badly hurt once, and that was, I think, in the final round against Usyk. He was buzzed a bit against Jerry Forrest in the rematch, but other than that, I don't recall ever seeing him hurt. Certainly not badly. He was never badly hurt against Martin Bakole, and he took some good shots. But as I said earlier on, I'm afraid that Michael Hunter might go down as one of these wasted talents. Now, for some reason, he split up with Hasim Rahman, who was previously his trainer and I think also his manager. He's still cool with Hasim Rahman's son, but I don't know what happened with, as I say, Rahman Sr. because they seem to be a really good team, at least as far as the results they were getting. That's when Michael Hunter produced his best form, when he was with Hasim Rahman. Maybe it was the most common thing that splits people apart in boxing, a dispute over money. A lot of these fighters, once they see some of the checks that are flying around in front of them, they don't want to pay a trainer 10%. They want to pay him a flat fee instead. And some trainers are like, you know what? No. Who knows if that was the case with Michael Hunter and Hasim Rahman. Anyway, give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my assessment. Do you think Michael Hunter would beat Martin Bakole in a rematch and would stop him earlier than he did first time around? Or would Martin Bakole get his revenge? And before I go, make sure you check out my Joshua Dubois film study on my Patreon page. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long. I analyze actual video footage of several of their fights and do a technical breakdown of their respective strengths and weaknesses and discuss tactics. If you want to access this video along with hundreds of hours worth of other exclusive boxing content, as well as our members chat, just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called the Boxing Brotherhood. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store. All the links are in the description box below.